All right, everybody. So welcome to our guest speaker tonight. I'm super excited to be joined by Dave Vu from a company called Ribbon. They are a cutting edge professional networking tool that I'm really excited to share with you all. I'm sure we'll be hearing a little bit more about what it is that Ribbon does and why we should consider sharing our achievements and our professional wins in new ways. But we're also going to be talking about marketability and how to navigate the job search using marketability and how to share your personality online. So before I pass the mic over to Dave, I am going to share a feedback link in the chat. If you have any thoughts or ideas of what you want to see more of when it comes to Flatiron School events in the future, I am all ears. So go ahead, click that link now, keep that tab on the back burner, and when we wrap up, let me know what you thought. All right, so with that, Dave, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Michelle, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be talking to all of you today. And really, I'm going to be talking about the new hiring era and why you should care and how you can become more marketable in this new environment. So just to set the stage, a little bit about my journey. As you can see, I've worn multiple hats, but I just wanted to show, most of my experience has been on the hiring side, on the recruitment side, across various size startups and VCs and companies, both in-house agency at venture capital, and now being a founder, trying to solve this problem myself. As you can see from the arrow here, I want to point that out. This is myself and my co-founder, Arsham. We both met at another startup called Ezra, based out of New York City. It was an AI health tech company. I joined as the first employee there, tasked with building and scaling the team, offices in Toronto with machine learning and other engineers. And I brought him over as one of our founding engineers. He eventually became one of our head of machine learning. He went on to work at Amazon in the recommendation algorithm team. So all the recommendation you see on Amazon, that was his doing. I ended up going to Local Logic, where I helped scale and build their team on the hiring, on the recruiting side, on the operation side, going from Series A to Series B. And then we always stayed in touch and we reconvened. And the main problem that we faced together was really on the hiring side. How do we bridge that gap between finding a great candidate and our process itself? And so that's what we came up with Ribbon. So what are the challenges that you were seeing right now in the marketplace? There's a number of challenges, but from my experience, I would just really highlight three challenges. And these are challenges that we're hearing from feedback from individuals in the market right now, looking for a new opportunity, and what the market is telling us right now. So the three things I would say is there is a lot more fake profiles floating around, unverifiable data that has to do with people just try to be as competitive as possible. And human nature, you try to take an advantage of a situation to sell yourself as much as possible. With generative AI as well, that's also another problem that we're seeing that's really flooding the market as well, especially as we dove deeper into this space. The other one, which is a blessing and a curse, is the easy apply button. We're seeing that on LinkedIn. We're also seeing on other application platform like Indeed, Monster. The easy apply button is too easy, and we'll talk a little bit about that and why that's problematic. And then the third one is obviously labor market shift that's occurring at the moment. So I always like to start the presentation and conversation with this profile. I don't know if any of you came across this profile. If you look at his profile, very interesting. He worked at Stripe for a little bit. He went to Stanford, but he was a dropout. He also mentioned Y Combinator. He's building something in stealth at the moment. So the profile looks interesting. What's the problem with this profile? Well, it was created as a fake LinkedIn profile. from one of these individuals, and he put it out there, and he had thousands of people viewing this, messaging him, wanting to connect. And so he put together a profile that the algorithm would have caught and pushed this profile to other people. Of course, we should have known that this was a fake profile just based on the name itself. And so that's not just an isolated incident. As we dove deeper, we realized, there was 21 million fake accounts that were detected and removed by LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, being a publicly traded company, had a report about this that was open to everybody to read. And that's in a span of 6 months of last year. So that's an increase of 20%. That's a really big number. And you think about it, that's a 6 month span. So it's showing the increased number of fake profiles that are floating around on the market. And it also affects companies at the same time. So people and bots are also listing certain companies, and a large company like Apple is not immune to it as well. 576,000 people claim they work at Apple, but in reality, it's probably 1/10 of that actually works there, right? And so that makes it difficult for people that are genuinely have the experience to go into the market to try to compete with misinformation and information that is inaccurate for the hiring manager and the recruiter. The other one I would mention as well, and I touched on this a little bit at the top of the presentation, is the easy apply button from LinkedIn. As we spoke to more and more users, the easy apply button being a blessing, but also a curse. Blessing being that it's so easy to apply that you can apply to hundreds of applications really easily now with one click of a button. The problem with this is that it's flooded the market. So now we're seeing 4 times more applications for any jobs at the moment. And in speaking to other heads of talent, recruiters, hiring managers, they're seeing a huge influx of applications for all the roles that they're posting at the moment, making it hard for them to navigate and really find the right people with the right experience to connect with. The other one is we're seeing, of course, more headlines like this. I just use the Canadian version just because I'm in Toronto, but that's no different in the US and elsewhere in the world. We're seeing more layoffs occur at the moment. These are the other headlines that we're seeing as well in terms of like cuts that are happening as well. So what is happening? So what's happening is that we're seeing a shift in the market that's occurring, going from a candidate-driven market to an employer-driven market. And I just loosely put these dates down. 2017 to 2022, from what I've experienced, was a very heavily driven candidate-driven market. And all that means is that people were having more opportunities available to them. Offers were going out within 24 hours. That was not unheard of. And so candidates were able to have more of an opportunity to go and find those jobs. Now we're seeing a shift, and the shift is happening now. It's going to an employer-driven market. And in talking to hiring managers, they have more time to be able to assess, find those candidates. And especially with a flood in the market, as I mentioned, we're now seeing a lot more candidates applying to one particular job, making it difficult to identify the right candidates. Other things that are happening, the economy shrank, layoffs, as I mentioned. We're also seeing more automation occur as well. And I think that's just going to continue for the next few years. And why should you all care? Like you're going to go out there looking for jobs. So you should be able to you should understand what the market is like at the moment. Again, we're seeing the days on the recruitment process and the hiring is just taking longer. There's just more opportunity for companies to find the right people. And so from my perspective and in conversations with, heads of talent and hiring manager from various large to mid-sized startups and other founders as well, What are they looking for? Aside from the obvious technical components, there are pieces that I would say most employers are looking for at the moment. And I just boiled it down to really four things: communication. So the ability to really express your thought very clearly, to be able to listen, to be able to respond to others, but really complex ideas to be able to communicate. I'm seeing that for my own self as we're hiring for at Ribbon, and in talking to our venture our VCs and in their portco. Communication is really important. There's a lot of times you're getting really talented engineers and developers in a market like we see today, or in the market we saw in the past. It would have been easy to just bypass that, and really just be able to hire as many people. Some people can be isolated and can work on their own and not really have to emphasize the communication piece. But now we're seeing employers being a lot more um, focus on making sure that the communication is one of the skills that they're looking for. The other one I would say is adaptability, and that's really be able to adapt, learn, and change as things are changing and evolving, especially in a company that is growing or in a startup environment. That's one of the key things that I look for, is somebody who has the ability to adapt and be positive and be able to change and shift. Things are shifting all the time, that if you're able to shift with the changes, I think that you make yourself really marketable to any hiring manager, to any employer. And so emphasize the adaptability component when you're in an interview with them. The other two I'll quickly mention is the creative problem solving piece. That one we're seeing a lot. So a lot of times, we would present a problem in an interview, whether it's technical or whether it's on the growth side of things. We want to make sure that the individual can think of multiple ways of tackling this problem. There's not really one way of tackling a problem. There's multiple ways of thinking about it, and we want to see you use all the resources around you, adapt, and be able to communicate. How are you going to get to that problem? What is the problem? And frame that problem. The last one I would say, and it seems like you guys are already doing this right now with Flatiron, is showing continuous learning. I think that's really important for me when I'm hiring and other hiring managers. We want to see people that are looking to continually learn and get better in their craft. And the reason why we think that's really important is because we're investing in you not in the short term, but we're investing in you ideally in the longer term. And showing that commitment to learning and developing, especially as things are adapting and changing, I think is really important for any hiring manager and any employer. So I would mention these four things, and there's others, but really these four things as you're interviewing and communicating with hiring managers and recruiters. Highlight those pieces in your application, highlight that in your interviews, and make sure that they understand that you are that person that can change, shift, adapt, and be able to really solve various different problems that gets thrown at you. So how can you stand out? So a few things that I've noticed in going through applications and talking to hiring managers, as I mentioned, is when you're in a world where there's thousands of applications, I think being different and conveying your personality is really important. And that can come in many forms. Whether you send out a tailored note to the hiring manager or in your interview, they want to see who you are. They don't want to see a cookie cutter type of application that you've probably used across multiple different roles. And the other one I would mention is really highlight and lean into your achievements and projects. A lot of times we want to hear, what are the projects that you've worked on specifically? How does that relate to our problem and the challenges? And you can get that information from a job description. So really lean into that. That to me is much more important when you're highlighting projects that you've worked on, because we want to understand how deep were you in that project. Do you understand the problem? What were the challenges that you face? What was the solution? It doesn't have to be successful, but at the very least, as you go into a project and you work deeply into it, it's really important to be able to highlight that to the hiring manager. And the last one I mentioned is just verifying your experiences. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means. So verification can happen in our opinion, three ways. You can do it in KYC form, you can do social verification, there could be institutional verification. All these things really mean is just showing social proof to the hiring manager, to the recruiter that you've done these things. And that could come in many forms. You can have references already available to display that. You can have projects where you can have others that have um, shown that you've completed a particular project to those hiring manager. And there's other platforms out there that can help you, including ours, when it comes to bolstering your application through verification. So it comes to the question is, what is Ribbon? So as Michelle mentioned, we are better verified. Our mission is really to create a better connect verified professionals to network and find their next opportunity. I think our mission aligns with a Flatiron, which is ultimately every individual here wants to better themselves in order to find that next opportunity and really go find your dream job essentially. So it starts with, in our opinion, with your profile, and your profile unlocks all of these features on our platform. So creating a profile, demonstrating who you are, will make you more marketable and unlocks these features. The first feature it unlocks is the community piece. So we really believe that we want to bring this back to a really tight-knit community where people can share ideas, challenges that you're facing, that is really focused on the career side. We're seeing too often now on a platform like LinkedIn, it's becoming such a general platform, and it's more of a billboard, as I'm hearing from a lot of people, that it's not really conducive to creating a community. And so we want to bring that back to a community. Also, the great thing about this feature is that it's gated. So we ensure that anybody that posts would have that X amount of verification. And we're testing out different methods of getting verified people to be able to use this. It could be social verification, it could be other things. But really, the idea is to connect two people together in a conversation that are verified, so that at the very least, you know who you're engaging with. The other one that we're very excited about, and we would love for all of you to try this out, is a feature that we're about to launch called Resume Plus. And here's the link to it. We will send out an email, and you guys can have first access and first crack at it. It's a free feature. You just upload your resume, and our AI will spit out a score. It's a proprietary algorithm that we have, and it gives you a score, or not a score, but an assessment of your resume to suggest what you can improve on your resume in the market based on what it knows of the role itself. And it will make suggestions. So as you write certain things out, it will actually suggest to you how you can improve on that. That leads us to the next feature, which is coming right after Resume Plus, which is Jobs Copilot. And Jobs Copilot is a Chrome extension that allows you to apply to all jobs on the internet. So if you're applying through LinkedIn, you're applying to Indeed, you're applying to different various sites, you don't have to now track that on a Excel spreadsheet. As soon as you view a job and then you apply, it's all categorized for you. All the data is there. So even if the job description changes throughout your interview process or your application process, that original job description will be available to you. So it reminds you, what is the job that you're applying for when you go into the interview process. It also allows you to track all the information in one place very clearly. The big thing about tracking all of this information for you is not only does it make it simpler for you to be able to track this information, but we're going to be applying AI on top of that. That will allow us to scan the job description, scan other applicants, scan your application, and then suggest how you can improve on that application and to make yourself more marketable and more attractive to the hiring manager. This will also allow us, as you create your ribbon profile and add more experiences, we will surface those profiles in a list that we can now share to the hiring manager, giving you a higher probability and a chance of getting that job interview. So our community is growing right now. We hit 156,000 users, and we continue to grow across North America. And we hit this target within the last 4 months. So we're growing quite rapidly, and of course, more features to come. So we're going to be hopefully growing even more in that community. And I'll quickly mention our campus ambassador program. So we have students, as an example, representing us at various different universities. These are just a snapshot of some of them. Right now, in total, we have over 16 campus ambassador across North America, and we're going to be adding more. So we're building that network of individuals that are going to be joining. Yep. So join us, and if you have any questions, let me know. And of course, follow us on all these social media, different social media platform as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave. Would you actually mind throwing that slide up with the QR code?
Yeah,
just
sure.
in case folks want to grab it.
Sure. And I can also email everybody and
Yeah.
afterwards and share that as well.
Cool. We do have some questions popping up in the chat, kind of just general questions about the job market. If you don't mind, I can throw them at you. So, got a question from Jonathan, wondering how can you be different in applications without maybe that face-to-face interaction? Since we have all of these emerging AI tools that are increasingly filtering out candidates based on pre-developed algorithms. So like, given the current job market and the technology that companies and recruiters are using, like what specific advice do you have for being different and showcasing your personality?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I'm noticing is really networking as much as you can. It's just old school effort in terms of networking. The amount of people that you'll be surprised that don't actually network is pretty high. I had a chat today with one of the students. His background was amazing, lots of experience. Stanford grad. He would be great at any company, but doesn't make the effort to reach out to anybody. Like he even told me, like, I just don't make an effort to reach out to anybody. Now with Apollo, with various different platforms, you can literally reach out to anybody, have a and have a conversation with that individual. I would say you have to just be really creative. I'm really busy, but I get emails from people reaching out with a very creative email tagline, and I'll open it, and I actually would grab a coffee and reach out to the individual. So I think the effort needs to be there. People need to get really creative, and the reason why we create a video intro feature, it actually stems from the fact that as I was hiring for our own team, a few people wanted to stand out, and so they sent me an email with a 30-second video intro of themselves, and I gave every one of those individuals an interview, just because in a world where I'm looking at static applications that are like just text form, if I see somebody and they can see their experience, it just made me just want to reach out to them because he put that effort in, and I really got to understand their personality as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I feel like an all too common mistake people use about that dreaded idea of networking and how hard we think it is versus kind of the reality of it. It takes a little time and effort, but I think in the long run, right, you're hopefully by doing that, front loading that work to network and build connections, makes things down the line a little bit easier. I was actually reading a report this morning about like hiring predictions for next year, and there's the market in tech is on the upswing, but companies aren't hiring more recruiters. So recruiters are overwhelmed.
Yes.
So it actually, the right move is to track down the hiring manager, right? And reach out to them directly, because the recruiters are drowning in applications.
That's a really, really good point, Michelle. I've had multiple conversations with recruiters as we're trying to build out the advanced search capabilities on our platform with hiring managers and recruiters, and their budget is being cut, and so they're now one or two individuals trying to navigate through thousands of applications. And so you're absolutely right. Is any way to get ahead and in front of those individuals, I think, is a huge plus. And that's partly why we're building this platform. Is it's going to be a combination of automation AI tools with some human personalization component. I think a lot of tools out there are just very automated and transactional. I think that's the wrong approach, just because I think in doing this for 10 years, I think they'll never get in front of the right people from that sheer perspective.
Totally. Let's see, got a couple more questions popping up. Megan asks, do you think the current job market is harder for people wanting, and I'm not sure how much experience you have specifically with developers. We do have a large software engineering community at Flatiron School, but just wondering, is the current job market harder for people wanting to land junior dev roles, or for folks looking for more senior positions?
That's a great question. I would say that really depends on the type of company that we're seeing right now. I would say from a startup to mid-sized companies, you want to get your foot in the door. I would say being a junior developer that's eager, with energy, that's willing to learn and take on multiple things is actually more what I'm looking for. And I know other founders think the same way, just because you want to extract as much from that individual, but also build a culture around young developers that are going to be the leaders of your company in the future, right? I would say from a senior role, it is probably really hard, not because the roles are not necessarily available, just because they're not being advertised. So you have to then be more creative to find those roles, because those roles, companies have those needs. They just are not proactively looking for those roles. So you have to then sell yourself as much as you can there.
Amber's got a good question here that I really like a lot, and I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier about things that stand out in someone's profile. But Amber is wondering, what are some specific things that catch your eye when you look at someone's profile that makes you want to see more of it or see more of them?
The first thing I would say, and I don't see this very often, which I don't know, maybe it's just the way resumes are structured, is that people will list their experiences. What I typically like to do is I would scan through a resume like within seconds and really try to pick out projects or things that they've worked on, and then try to dig into that a little bit more. So if you can somehow highlight projects that you've worked on at the top of your resume, or even in a email or LinkedIn message, or eventually on Ribbon as well, I think that's really important, because again, I go back to like the actual project that you've worked on. You probably learn a lot more, and I want to dig and understand the challenges, what you've solved in a particular project. And for me to just understand that you're an organized individual and you have Lambda experience or AWS, like that to me doesn't really talk to me about the skills that I'm looking for a new team member.
Right. And I think it's always good to remember that a company is hiring someone to help solve their problems, right? So the more, and I know tailoring your resume and your cover letter is hard, especially if you do it all day over and over, but taking the time, if there are companies that you feel very strongly about, showing them how you are going to solve their problems, like something that they can't say no to.
It's a really good point. And the amount of time that I've had phone screens on somebody that seems promising, I asked them, like, what problem am I trying to solve at Ribbon? I would say 8 out of 10 times they didn't even do their research. So it's just a matter of looking up online, understanding that problem, and saying, oh, well, I can come in today and help build this for you, or and it doesn't have to be specific because like we'll have a conversation, a dialogue about it, but people don't even get there. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that the tailoring piece. I think the tailoring piece is really, really important.
Yeah. All right, question from Marley about Ribbon. You talked about Ribbon being a close-knit community. How does the UI help users find mentors and network, maybe compared to a competitor like LinkedIn?
Yeah, for sure. Um, right now, people can create a profile. Our algorithm is going to highly focus on individuals with a complete profile, with a video intro of themselves, with some verification, things that you will fill out, and we're going to prompt you to do that. And then we're going to connect those two people better. And we're going to introduce you guys to connect with each other based on what you're looking for, whether you're looking for networking, you're looking for collaboration, or ultimately, as I mentioned, looking for the next job opportunity. I think that's how we're going to do this right now. um, um, the other platforms don't really emphasize that, and we want to emphasize connecting two people that are verified together as much as possible. So we're going to be prompting any of the people with profiles to add more experiences, video intros, things like that. And if you don't, then you're not going to be able to participate in the community. And so those things are coming. We are building that out. Right now, you're landing. You can post, but the advanced search capabilities we're going to be launching very soon. We want to launch the job component first, and then we're going to go back and bolster the networking piece.
Cool. I'm curious to know, now that you have such a robust community, like, over 150,000 members, do you have any like success stories to share about your users?
Yeah. So so when we first launched Ribbon, we purposely didn't want to connect. We didn't want to launch the DMs because we know if you launch a DMs too soon, sometimes you're going to get the wrong types of people connecting with each other, and we want to improve on that. And we still haven't launched it yet, right? But a lot of people came back to me saying that, oh, I saw this video intro of this individual. I checked out their experiences. I end up finding them on LinkedIn, or which is not ideal for us right now, but we did find out them on LinkedIn, and they end up collaborating with each other, and they're actually either doing a startup, a project that they want to launch into a startup, or they're collaborating from a consultancy standpoint. And even one had an interview with somebody else. So we know that something is happening there, but we're going to be focusing and turning that on in the short term.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Zach's got a question that maybe you can speak to. I'm going to put a little twist on it. But Zach's question was, what are some, unique ways to show off your portfolio or your resume? And I'll kind of add, have you all at Ribbon kind of seen any posts or profiles that have made you say, oh, we didn't, that's a really unique way of showcasing yourself, your achievements?
Yeah, I'd say the one, and we want to, this is going to be an easy one to implement to our platform, is we had a couple people do a Loom video and walking through a project or a challenge or problem that they're thinking about. Imagine like be able to walk through step by step, like the challenge, what they're building from a technical standpoint, even going through a code. And then they put that up on YouTube or on other social media platform. And then they even send that to me, or they sent it to somebody that I knew in my network who sent it to me. So that's a very creative way of doing that. But they walk through in a Loom video step by step what they're trying to like work on, whether it's a project that they're working with, at a coding school, at school, in their job, or something that's like on the side and is personal. I thought that was really cool because I get to see how they're thinking, and how they're communicating and explaining their thought process already. So if anybody's thinking about that, I don't know why people don't do more of that. I think the Loom video is really powerful.
because watching videos of yourself feels
No,
awkward.
yeah, that's true.
That's why
That's probably true.
I'm dreading uploading this recording. I'm just kidding. But no, I mean I completely agree. There are um at Flatiron School, we host an event series called Career Week once a quarter, where job seekers have the chance to meet employers and go to kind of exclusive events that we host. And um, part of the sign up process is to record yourself giving your elevator pitch, where and then we send those 1 minute, 30-second, 60-second videos over. And that actually helps the employers, get a sense for who they're meeting with before they even jump into that networking conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you bring a good point, Michelle. Like some people are not comfortable. I mean, the reality is it's a very competitive market out there. If you're not comfortable, you got to get comfortable and get comfortable fast. Like, unfortunately, the alternative is just to not get comfortable and then not having opportunities available to you. I think, being as comfortable as possible and communicating and networking is still the most important thing.
Yeah, totally. Any other questions for Dave about the market, about Ribbon?
Everybody here, I'm assuming, is looking for job opportunities, searching.
At some
Okay.
point, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to show some of these other features that I mentioned, Resume Plus, Copilot. I'll work with you, Michelle. We're gonna create a little just simple email and then we'll send it out. And the ultimate vision for us is really to make it easier for everybody to find their next opportunity. And so everything we're building from this point forward is gonna be helping with that. But we'll send out an email and you with links and you guys can sign up and things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, all the details will be there.
Did get another question pop up. What's in store for 2024? What are your goals for Ribbon next year?
So the goals for us is to launch these other features, get the word out to more people, partner up with other institutions, coding schools, um, really get as much feedback, product market fit as possible, and then raise that next round. And then really looking to bring on great people into our team. For us, we're looking for, the technical piece is there, but I don't think it's as important for us. Really, we're looking for people that are highly motivated to want to solve this problem, that want to make this vision a reality. And so we're looking for like really talented, adaptable developers with a great attitude that wants to tackle this issue, this problem. And yeah, we think we're growing and growing really fast. So we want to really take a dent and compete with LinkedIn to create that next generation profile for you guys. I'm not building this for the 45 to 50-year-olds that are using Ribbon. I'm building it for the people that are going into the workforce for the next 10 to 15 years, and really, build that for those individuals.
Um, got another one coming in. Any ideas on how to stay ahead of the curve to not be filtered out by, any sort of artificial intelligence, ATS?
Yeah, that one is tough. I mean, that's something that I'm still even thinking about how to. The problem with these AI filtering mechanism, it's very binary. So it's like it's if you have a certain word, it's gonna filter you out. Yeah, that's a definitely a challenging one. I don't have an answer for that, to be honest with you, but that's definitely a challenge for a lot of people. I think companies, because they're getting influx of applications, have relied on some of these algorithms that are not the best algorithm because they have a very simple filtering process. And you lose out on a lot of really good candidates from that. But their goal is really to narrow thousands of applicants down to 50 people. Like, so they have to put a lot of filters in place.
I'll also share, if you aren't yet maybe researching ways to use ChatGPT to like analyze and give you feedback on the resume and the cover letter that you've already written. I think there are a lot of really creative ways that people have discovered to use tools like ChatGPT. Not necessarily saying, hey, I want to apply to this job, write my resume, but obviously working a little more hands-on and creating your own application materials and just kind of figuring out how to talk to it and get the feedback that could be helpful to make any small improvements.
Yeah, and that's what Resume Plus is going to do, is it's going to give you that. But I totally agree with you. I think highlighting certain things you might not be aware of, especially what the market tells you, is I think it's going to be really important.
Got a good question from Jonathan that came in. What catalyst do you think there may be that could lead to a more employee favored market?
Yeah, so these market shifts I've noticed in my 10 years tend to stick around for at least 3 to 4 years, unfortunately, and things will shift a little bit. Things accelerated, um, post COVID, when interest rates were a certain going a certain way and companies were cutting. I would say keep an eye out, and I could be wrong, but I think mid next year, if interest rates gets cut, there's a lot of dry powder in the sidelines. From my chats with other VCs and other private equity groups and investors, they're willing to go and invest. They just need that signal, and when they do that, there could be this little blip where you're going to see this shift, where all of a sudden it's going to go back to a candidate-driven market, and that's really conducive to what the economic climate is really like these days. The money's there. There's, I think, $6 trillion that's sitting on the sidelines at the moment, waiting to be deployed. It's a matter of getting that signal to be able to deploy that capital. And once that happens, I think we might see a huge amount of hiring that occurs again. Yeah, it could happen mid next year. If not, it could. Like I mentioned, from the pattern I've seen, it could last for a little bit longer than expected to.
Couple more for you, Dave.
Yeah.
Kendall wants to know kind of your thoughts on the importance of sharing your work across multiple platforms. Part of the Flatiron School career curriculum is learning how to kind of build your personal brand, and showcasing things appropriately on GitHub and sharing your website or portfolio across platforms. So do you have any thoughts on, like, as someone who's navigating the job market, who's making a career change, like where and how to showcase your work?
Well, first of all, I would say showcasing your work is very important. Like, across, you have all these channels available to you. You should take advantage of it. Some people might say, I'm a little old school, I don't want to share this out. Then you're at a disadvantage. Like, unfortunately, I just have to say, like, you have to use these channels available to you. You're really trying to market yourself. I think everybody's marketing their personal brand more than ever before. Don't leverage just one channel. Like I wouldn't even say just leverage Ribbon. Like, Ribbon's gonna be one channel in your tool belt versus other things you should be leveraging. The more you get out there, the more people are going to notice and hear about you, and the more the algorithms of all these platforms are going to pick it up and share it to the right people. But you need to build a personal brand these days.
Question from Kendall, two Kendalls, two in a row. How funny. A different
Two different
Kendall.
candles. Two different candles. Okay.
This Kendall wants to know a little bit more about Resume Plus. Wondering what goes into the scoring that you do? Does it include feedback on word selection, formatting? What's the secret sauce?
It's a combination of a bunch of different things. I'm not going to disclose what their algorithm secret sauce is necessarily going to be, but it's going to be a weighted amount based up on other resumes that we're seeing in the market based as well. So it's going to be a comparison, and we're going to continue to improve on that. If you want me to do a quick demo right now, I can show you a quick demo if that's.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. If you don't mind.
And this is by the way, this is the first look. We just it just got into production this morning, and we're launching it. So you guys are the first ones to be able to see this right now.
Let's break it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, let's do this. Okay. And my engineers love it when you guys say, let's break it, because we find bugs. So here, this is like Ribbon. You get in, there's all these other features I'm not going to show, but it's really simple. You do an upload. Right now you want to upload, it's only a PDF. Eventually we're going to make it so you can upload, a doc. So can everybody see this, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give it a couple seconds. So
Sure.
now what it's doing is it's analyzing so I just uploaded my PDF resume. So give us a couple seconds. It's gonna be able to scan through your resume.
Thinking hard.
Yeah, the AI is working extra hard right now. And we're gonna try to speed up this process, but what we found is this is the fastest we could do it.
Sure. I mean, the fact that we're even capable of doing this type of stuff now, I think, is still pretty mind blowing to me. I'll speak for myself there.
So here you go. So this is my resume. Yeah. So it found it found a typo here, but it also shows what kind of other titles that you can be applying for. It also makes a suggestion. So establish comprehensive HR. So I wrote something about scaling the company from 3 to 40 employees. It made a little suggestion here. As you can see, it makes a bunch of little suggestions throughout your resume. It also mentions keywords that it sees that for this role would often appear in other matches as well. So I think that's really key for people to try to. I think there was a question about analyzing how to get past the AI filtering process. This is one of those solutions. There's certain keywords that you want to mention. These are other ones, and from my experience. And then it also mentions a little bit about adding some skills. So this is our first initial version of it. We're gonna eventually put a score here as well, and then we're gonna add more suggestions that are much more detail as the AI starts to learn and comprehend, what you're looking for. And that's gonna help as you apply across, as I mentioned, the next feature, which is you're applying across multiple jobs online, and it's gonna start seeing what jobs you're applying for in that pattern, and it's gonna make better suggestions as well.
That's so awesome. Folks in the chat are loving it. Question from Marley wanting to know, is it more important to hit all of the keywords or, keep it concise, having one page?
So one page is a misconception. I would say don't put 10 pages or 5 pages because nobody's going to read that. I would say like anywhere from 1 to 3 pages is fine. These days, a lot of it gets filtered through an algorithm anyways. So really keywords is key, is be able to like highlight those keywords. And most of the time, the keywords will just surface so that it filters the initial applications. And then there's going to be a human that's going to look at that application and look at the first page. So really, it's super key to get the best stuff in the first page. I can't stress that enough. A lot of people try to get cute and they start putting stuff in multiple pages. But really, the decision typically gets made within after the filtering process gets made within the first page.
Resume crafting is an art form of its own. isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah, and I would try to be not as verbose as possible, like really get to the heart of what you're trying to say. I've read probably tens of thousands of resumes over my lifetime, and the amount of people think that a resume is a novel is surprisingly shocking.
Right.
They'll write paragraphs about it rather than very like concise like data. And oh yeah, by the way, the more data you can show, I think the better that is. So if you have any sort of data that you can display, like let's say in sales, for example, you're in a top percentage for sales for this quarter, like any data you should put that out there. And obviously make sure it's truthful because hiring managers are going to nail you on that point as well.
Right. Right. Like kind of in as few words as possible, what's the impact you made? How did you do it?
Yeah. The amount of time that I've had conversations where they presented themselves is great. And I said, okay, well, tell me what is what was your sales process? How much did you close? What was the average deal size? What was the largest deal size that you lost? It's a telltale sign when they don't know that number off the top of their head. That means that they've made it up. Because literally, as a salesperson, you're gonna know all these data points really inside out, especially if you've dug deep into it. And that's the same with engineering. Is if you actually worked on a particular project and you're not just there as a joining, but you're actually there working on it, you're gonna remember every single challenge. You're gonna remember every single issue that was a part of it. So
Right. All right. Any final thoughts? Any final questions for Dave before we wrap this up? I did drop in the chat just a reminder about our feedback survey. I'm always just curious to hear what folks think about our programming and what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. So if you take a minute or two after this and let me know, I would appreciate it. All right, Lauren, let me read your question.
I'll also mention as well, Michelle, you and I can coordinate, but I'm happy to provide some of my engineers time if they want to talk to an engineer that's working on a particular set of problems. We're stretched thin. We're very like lean team, but like I'm happy to get like one of our senior engineers to do a talk. And yeah, like walk through a more particular set of problems for
Yeah.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you read my mind. I've already been kind of trying to think
Yeah.
of more ways to, even bring our communities together.
Sure.
I think there's definitely room for that.
Yeah.
Cool. One last question from Lauren, and then we'll wrap things up. So Lauren says, I get the feedback about needing to add stats to your resume. However, what happens if you come from a background that maybe is administrative, where you don't have access to that hard data? How can you, quantify any sort of accomplishments or impact you made, if maybe your role doesn't offer that, or the way you think about your role doesn't offer that?
And this is sorry, that was Dina.
Lauren.
Lauren. Can you give me more detail? Like what do you mean by that? In terms of like a role that doesn't have particular KPIs?
So I previously worked in like nonprofits and healthcare,
Yeah.
a lot of team support roles. And like for instance, my last role, I was a hospice care coordinator more or less. So I took all the phone calls. I was making sure that medical equipment was supplied to our patients in a timely manner. I was getting medication orders out. I mean, I was essentially like triaging everything. And I've always been in those kind of roles where my hands are kind of in every pot, but I don't really feel like it's anything where I can say like it contributed to X amount of growth, or I had like X success rate or anything like that.
Yeah, I would say my suggestion to you is like try to quantify that, because I think even in that role, you might be able to say something like, took 50 calls and was able to triage 10% of that. Because I think the main thing is really understanding, from a hiring manager, what does success look like? I think that's really what any founder, hiring manager is like. If you're going to come in and join my organization, how are you going to be successful from day one? Do you understand what success metrics look like? So I don't have anything off the top of my head for that role, but like I would say try to quantify that in some way, because it's going to come up, especially in deeper interviews. Is like you're going to have to be able to explain, how do you know you were successful? How were you able to help move that needle for that organization? However that is, I think you have to be able to explain that narrative to the hiring manager.
Awesome. Good question, Lauren. And I feel like, we have folks coming through Flatiron from all walks of life and different backgrounds. And like, you're definitely not alone in like struggling to put that experience into words. I think that's a totally normal experience that folks have when they're kind of writing their resumes. So thank you for asking that. All right, folks, we're at time. Time flies. Dave, I'll work with you and we'll kind of get a list of resources and any other links that we want to share out with folks. I'll also be sharing this recording out with y'all, so don't worry about that. And we'll definitely stay in touch on how to collaborate again in the near future.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I can, reach back out with my team, as I mentioned, to help you guys with another talk. Or if there's another topic that myself and my co-founder you think can be useful, I'm trying to give back to the community a little bit as well. So yeah, happy to help out.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And it sounds like folks appreciate it as well. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for sticking around on a Tuesday night. Stay tuned for more upcoming community programming, and have a great week. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see y'all soon. Take care, everyone.